Hey class, Crystal here. This is my issue speech. Hope y'all enjoy it. There are many problems that we're all facing right now. Problems like work and school, kids and marriage, things that we all have to deal with every day. But there's one problem that if we don't face together as a human race, we won't have any of those things. If we don't face the problem of global warming, there will literally be no life to even make. The problem, our problem, is that the Earth is heating up. So far it's gone up to 1 degree. Now, that might not seem like a lot to you, but take a second to think about this. The Earth, which entails all the oceans, rivers, lakes, lands, deserts, glaciers, forests, all of that has gone up by 1 degree. It's got to take a lot, right? An example of that, by the way, is going to be found at earthobservatory.com, and it shows you the change in Earth's temperature in different places around the world. The bigger problem is that in a recent survey by the New York Times, only 44% of surveyors believe that global warming is a real issue, and 34% believe that it's somewhat of a serious problem. But the staggering thing about this survey is that most Americans don't think that global warming is going to be a real issue for the United States. Like our country is going to be exempt from a devastating global climate change where we could be looking at our very own water world, or even another ice age. The idea that a lot of Americans don't think it's a serious problem is mind-blowing. It is by far the biggest threat to our future. We're the ones creating this problem and destroying ourselves. There's scientific and visual evidence, and the idea that it's the middle of winter and people are walking around in shorts and flip-flops. It's hot. Surely people must notice this. It's snowing in places it's never snowed before, and we are hitting all-time record temperature highs in the middle of winter. We are responsible for saving not only ourselves, but our planet. Research from Nat Geo shows that with global warming comes climate change and the destroying of ecosystems. The migration of animals, where some are going to be able to go up north and live, and some are not going to make it at all and become extinct. Flooding, hurricanes, and droughts will lead us to less and less fresh water available for resources and electricity. In 1880, global warming was first mentioned by a Swedish scientist by the name, excuse me if I pronounce this incorrectly, Svante Arrhenius, proposing the relationship between atmospheric CO2 concentrations and temperature. He found that the Earth creates its own natural greenhouse effect in order to keep itself at 15 degrees Celsius. The doubling of CO2 would cause the Earth to rise in temperature by 5 degrees Celsius. Humans create their own CO2 by eating and breathing, all of which we need to do in order for us to live. But burning the fossil fuels for energy, transportation, building, and deforestation severely increases our Earth's CO2 levels, which is causing the global warming and the rise in temperature. All of this information, by the way, can be found at lentech.com. In 2015, Hawaii passed this law stating that it must get all of its electricity from renewable resources by 2045, and San Diego states that it will have theirs done by 2035. New York City and San Francisco have already gone to 100% renewable energy through the use of hydropower, and California requires that 50% of its energy must come from other renewables besides hydropower. This past December, Paris introduced the Paris Climate Deal to the UN, which states to keep the atmospheric temperatures no higher than 2 degrees Celsius than what the Earth is supposed to be. That will help keep the Earth from devastating consequences. The U.S. has thankfully agreed to this deal. This is not going to solve our global warming problem, but it's a great way to start. We need to find other ways of using renewable resources instead of fossil fuels, oil, and natural gas. Things that you can do to help stop global warming would be recycling and reusing products, using less heat and less air conditioning, using fluorescent or LED light bulbs, driving less, carpooling, buying energy efficient products like the stoves, the washer and dryer, the refrigerators, or even special cars. The use of hot water, less use of hot water. Saving electricity where you can. Like if you're at home during the day, obviously you don't need to use all the lights on in the house. Barely even one in the room if you just open up the blinds. And finally, planting a tree. Plants and trees absorb CO2 through photosynthesis. They absorb it through photosynthesis, and they also produce oxygen, which we need, obviously. I definitely hope that this information of the global warming issue is informative, and you take some of this information and use it to your advantage. You can see where I got my information from my outline on my speech. I have all the links available. There's also diagrams and other things that I thought would be useful if you want to look more into it. But thank you guys so much. I appreciate you taking the time.